It began like a dream stitched together from pixels and promises. Lila Moreno believed she'd finally found forever. A florist who spent her life arranging other people's love stories, now crafting her own. Evan Carter had appeared online one late evening, his words so warm they felt alive. For months, they built a world of shared playlists, midnight calls, and whispered vows through glass screens. When he asked her to marry him, she didn't hesitate. She borrowed money, booked the venue, and pressed her dress against her chest like a secret. But this morning, his profile is gone. No trace, no number, not even a shadow. The phone feels heavier than ever, the silence louder than her heartbeat. Somewhere between faith and fear, she realizes the unthinkable. Evan may never have existed at all. Could you spot a lie wearing a perfect smile? By noon, the panic becomes physical. Lila rushes to her laptop, refreshing every page, every account. Nothing. Each click is a door slamming shut. She calls his number. Disconnected. His email bounces. Her chest tightens, the air thinning as she replays every conversation, wondering what she missed. She messages Sophie Trent, her best friend, her voice trembling. Sophie doesn't say much, just, "Send me everything." That's when it hits her. She never met Evan in person. Every photo, every video call, every word existed only through a screen. And yet she can still hear his voice like a ghost in her apartment. Sophie arrives within the hour. Her presence brings a flicker of stability. She's always been the grounded one, calm where Lila dreams. Sophie Trent, tall and sharp-eyed, scrolls through Evan's old messages, frowning. "Did you ever video call without filters?" she asks. Lila hesitates. He said his camera was broken. The air feels suddenly heavier. Sophie's fingers fly across the keyboard, tracing links, checking usernames. Every account connects to nothing, just a web of empty profiles. Lila's heart sinks. Sophie looks up, voice low but certain. "Lila, this isn't a glitch. Someone made him up." That night, Lila can't sleep. She replays their voice messages, each one a memory she can't trust anymore. His laughter feels hollow now, mechanical. She digs deeper, searching old email receipts, usernames, anything that might prove he was real. But all she finds are digital echoes, profiles linked to stolen photos. Her stomach churns as she realizes the truth. The man who promised her forever was built from fragments of strangers. She deletes his last message, then stops herself. No, she needs proof. If she erases him, how will she ever prove he existed? Morning arrives heavy and colorless. Lila's voicemail blinks with a new message. It's Detective Rowan Hale. His voice is calm, professional. "And Moreno, I think you should come in. We've seen cases like this before." She grips the phone tighter. Cases like this? She stares at her wedding invitation pinned to the wall. Its golden lettering now mocking her. The day she thought would define her life has become something else entirely. Outside, church bells ring for someone else's wedding. She closes her eyes, whispering, "Who was he?" The police station smells of coffee and quiet frustration. Lila Moreno sits across from Detective Rowan Hale, her hands knotted together, voice barely steady. He listens more than he speaks, eyes sharp but kind. The fluorescent lights hum above them, casting both of their faces in the same pale fatigue. She tells him everything, from their first message to the day his profile vanished. Hale taps his pen against his notebook, thinking. "You said he worked in finance?" Lila nods. "Any verified photos?" She hesitates. "He sent one from an office, but I never saw anyone else in it." The detective exhales slowly, pushing a file toward her. Printouts of other victims. Same pattern, same charm, same lies. "Instantes. Moreno," he says softly. "Your fiancé wasn't just a fake. He was a pattern. That night, Lila scrolls through the detective's file. Names, dates, faces blurred by digital ghosts. Every woman looks like her. Hopeful, kind, easy to trust. The realization cuts deep. Each victim borrowed money, planned futures, and lost not just savings but dignity. She stares at Evan's last picture, zooming in until the pixels break apart. In the corner of his background, a small reflection in glass. Someone else holding the phone. Someone she never noticed. Her pulse races. Could that be the real person behind him? Or just another layer of deceit? She saves the image, her finger trembling. For the first time, she doesn't feel heartbreak, she feels anger. Days blur together. Lila barely sleeps, moving between hope and fury. Sophie Trent checks in daily, bringing takeout and reality. You don't owe him your grief, she says, sliding a box of pastries across the table. But Lila can't let go. She's traced Evan's usernames through forgotten websites, old forums, even dating apps. Each trail ends in the same emptiness. Yet one detail sticks out. A location tag from 6 months ago. Harbor Point Cafe. Sophie leans over her shoulder. Then that's where we start. The words hang like a lifeline. Lila nods. For the first time in weeks, she feels movement again. The cafe feels too ordinary for what she's looking for. Lila and Sophie sit by the window, pretending to scroll through phones. The hum of espresso machines fills the silence. Lila's eyes dart across faces, searching for something familiar. A gesture, a posture, a trace of him. Then she sees it. A man at the counter. Dark hair, blue-gray eyes, that same half-smile. Her chest tightens. Sophie whispers, "That can't be him." But when he turns, something's off. The eyes colder, the face sharper. Still, he orders the same drink Evan once described. Lila's breath catches. Maybe she's not crazy after all. Or maybe she's staring straight at another lie. They follow him outside. The man walks briskly toward the street, phone pressed to his ear. Lila's heart pounds. "Evan," she calls out before she can stop herself. He turns just for a moment, and the world freezes. It's the same voice, the same face. But when he sees her, his expression changes from confusion to fear. He runs. Lila chases, heels clattering on wet pavement, Sophie shouting behind her. The man disappears into traffic, swallowed by city noise. Lila stops, breathless, clutching her chest. Sophie catches up, wide-eyed. "You saw him too," Lila whispers. Sophie nods. They stand there in the rain, realizing the truth might still be walking among them. Rain still lingers on her coat when Lila Moreno walks back into the station. Detective Rowan Hale listens carefully as she describes the man from the cafe. Every word trembles with disbelief. Hale writes quietly, nodding. "You're sure it was him?" Lila's voice cracks. It was his face, his voice. But his eyes, they weren't the same. The detective studies her, empathy flickering beneath the professionalism. "We've seen replicas before," he murmurs, showing her a photo grid of digital face composites, identities built from fragments of real people. Lila leans forward, recognizing the smile that once melted her. "That's him," she whispers, her voice barely there. Hale circles the image. Then, let's find who's behind it. The files reveal a map of deception. Dozens of aliases tied to one email address. Lila stares at the screen as Detective Hale scrolls through records. Each alias a heartbreak. Each profile another victim. Her name sits at the bottom of the list, a silent echo among strangers. "He used stolen images," Hale says, pointing to a document. "The man you saw, he's real. But he's not Evan. His photos were taken from a social media account in Spain." Lila's stomach turns. Every kiss, every word, every promise was copied and pasted from another life. "So, who was I in love with?" she whispers. Hale closes the file gently. That's what we're going to find out. Late that evening, Sophie Trent joins them at the station. Her skepticism has hardened into anger. So he's been doing this for years, she asks, scanning the reports. Hale nods. At least 3 years. Money transfers under fake charities, false engagements, emotional grooming. Lila feels the words like stones. Her name sits next to account numbers, evidence of trust turned weapon. Sophie places a hand on her shoulder. You didn't fall for him, Lila. You fell for hope. For a moment, Lila says nothing. Then quietly, hope shouldn't cost this much. The detective looks up from the evidence board, his tone measured. It costs most people everything. The next morning brings a new lead. An IP trace from an old chat session points to a co-working space across town. Lila insists on coming along. The building hums with fluorescent life, rows of computers, nameless faces, the faint smell of coffee. A receptionist remembers a man who used the workstation months ago. Quiet guy, worked alone. Paid in cash. Hale pulls up the security footage, grainy, time-stamped. Lila leans closer, breath catching as the image clears. The man looks nothing like Evan, yet his voice on the audio file matches perfectly. Voice cloning, Hale mutters. Lila's jaw tightens. He stole more than a face. He stole a life. Night settles over the city again. Lila walks home alone, the streetlights blurring through her tears. Every sound feels sharper now. The echo of footsteps, the buzz of a phone that never rings. She replays Hale's words in her mind. He's not gone. People like that don't disappear, they migrate. The thought chills her. She opens her laptop one last time, scrolling through her messages. And there it is. An unread message from an unfamiliar account. I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to go this far. Her breath catches as she hovers over the reply box. The profile picture is blank, but the typing indicator begins to blink. Someone is there waiting. The blinking typing bubble becomes hypnotic. Lila Moreno can hear her own pulse in her ears as words finally appear. We were both victims. She stares at the message, fingers hovering above the keyboard. Detective Rowan Hale sits beside her, phone pressed to his ear, coordinating the trace. Don't reply yet, he warns. But curiosity wins. She types slowly. Who are you? The response comes instantly. My name's Adrian. I was paid to use my photos. Hale's brows knit. That's our face model, he mutters. Lila's breath trembles. Somewhere across the world. The real man from the pictures is reaching out to her. He used my voice too, the next message reads. And yours. An encrypted call request flashes on Lila's screen. Hale nods once. She accepts. The camera activates, revealing Adrian Vega, the real man from the photos, alive, weary, and scared. I never met you, he says, voice shaking. He stole everything. My image, my accent, even my sister's wedding photos, behind him. A dim apartment wall filled with wires and monitors glows. Hale questions him gently, learning Adrian's identity was sold on a dark web forum. Lila feels numb. The man she loved was a digital puppet, controlled by someone who knew every way to sound real. He used us both, Adrian says softly, but he's still out there. Hours pass. Hale traces Adrian's connection to a location ping. An abandoned warehouse near the harbor. Lila insists on going. You shouldn't, Hale warns, but she shakes her head. He built his world on lies. I need to see what's left of it. The car ride is silent, except for rain against glass. Streetlights flicker like memories. When they arrive, the air smells of metal and salt. Inside, scattered computers hum quietly, cables coiled like veins. Hale sweeps his flashlight across the floor. Hundreds of printed photos of women, including Lila, taped to a wall. Her knees weaken. He catalogued us, she whispers. Named Jorgemani. He cataloged us. Among the scattered drives, Hale finds one labeled Hearts. He connects it carefully. Folders open. Voice clips, messages, faces, all indexed by emotion. Joy, fear, love. Lila covers her mouth. He recorded us, she murmurs. The audio plays, a perfect imitation of her own voice, whispering words she never said. Her reflection stares back from a dark screen, fractured and multiplied. He built personas for profit. Hale says grimly, people buy fake relationships now. Lila feels her stomach twist. He didn't just steal my trust, she whispers. He manufactured it. The hum of machines fades as sirens echo outside, the cybercrime team arriving. Hale signals them in. Lila lingers near the wall of photos, fingertips tracing the taped image of her smiling face. Why me? She asks quietly. Hale pauses. Because you believed in something good, she looks at him. Eyes hollow but steady. Then maybe that's still worth believing in. Outside, dawn rises over the harbor, soft pink cutting through gray clouds. As officers carry evidence out, Lila steps into the wind, letting the salt air sting her cheeks. Somewhere, another message tone rings from an untraceable phone, unread. 2 days later, the digital trail finally resolves into a name, Marcus Dale. Detective Rowan Hale explains that Marcus once worked as a data engineer for an ad tech firm, until he vanished with stolen accounts. The realization feels surreal to Lila Moreno. The man who'd promised forever had existed all along, just behind a dozen masks. Hale arranges a monitored video call. He reached out, he said he wants to talk. Lila's heartbeat quickens. She sits before the screen, the cursor blinking like a countdown. When the feed connects, a pale room appears, and a face she doesn't recognize, yet somehow knows by the sound of his sigh. Lila, Marcus says quietly. I never meant to hurt you. His voice is calm, practiced, the same tone that once made her believe. Marcus speaks about algorithms and loneliness, about how people trust what they want to see. You gave me warmth through a screen, he says. I gave you a dream. Lila listens, jaw tight, eyes steady. You took my name, my savings, my future. For the first time, he looks ashamed. Hale records silently, noting every word. Why me? Lila asks. Marcus hesitates. Because you believed in love more than logic. The truth lands like a final theft. Simple, cruel, and painfully human. Hale disconnects the call, leaning back in silence. We'll proceed with charges, he says, tone neutral. But Lila doesn't move. The image of Marcus's hollow apology burns in her mind. She expected rage. Instead, she feels emptiness, a vacuum where love used to be. Sophie calls later that night. He's just data, Lila. She reminds her. Delete him. Yet, Lila hesitates before pressing erase. Part of her wants the file to remain, a reminder that even perfect words can rot. She finally drags the folder to trash, watching the bar fill. Somewhere inside her, a quiet strength replaces the ache. Weeks later, the courtroom feels smaller than she imagined. Lila sits quietly while Hale testifies. The words digital fraud, identity theft, emotional exploitation echoing through the room. Marcus avoids her gaze. When it's over, she steps outside into spring sunlight, breathing it in like a new beginning. Reporters call her name, but she keeps walking. The city sounds normal again. Cars, chatter, life moving forward. She realizes the lesson wasn't about betrayal but boundaries, about choosing truth even when it hurts. For the first time in months, she smiles without needing a screen. That evening, Lila returns to her shop. Petals and soil, the scent of renewal. She clips a single white rose and places it in a vase beside her counter. Her phone buzzes, a new message request. For a second, Fear flickers, but she lets it pass. She turns the phone face down, choosing peace over curiosity. Outside, customers laugh under fading sunlight. She whispers to herself. Some stories aren't meant to end in love. They're meant to end in lesson. The camera lingers as she locks the door, the rose gleaming softly in the window. A small, quiet proof that healing is real. Months pass quietly. Lila Moreno has learned to breathe again. Her flower shop hums with soft music, petals opening in rhythm with her healing. Every morning she waters the same white rose, the one she saved the night the case closed. Customers don't know her story, and that's how she likes it. Yet when she overhears a young woman describing an online romance, something inside her stirs. Be careful, Lila says gently, sliding a bouquet across the counter. People aren't always who they say they are. The girl smiles, unaware of the weight behind those words. As the door chimes shut, Lila exhales, grateful that warning can sound like kindness. At night, Lila opens her laptop again, not to search for love, but to learn. She joins online forums about digital safety, reading survivor stories that sound like echoes of her own. Detective Rowan Hale messages her. "We're launching a public awareness campaign. Would you speak?" She hesitates, fingers hovering. Speaking means remembering, but it also means reclaiming. She types back, "Yes." The next day, she practices in front of her mirror. "My name is Lila Moreno." She begins softly, and I believed a lie. But that lie taught me the truth about trust. The day of the campaign arrives. A small auditorium buzzes with quiet anticipation. Lila stands backstage, nerves thrumming beneath calm breathing. Sophie Trent squeezes her hand. "You're helping people, not reliving it," she says. Lila nods, stepping into the light. Faces blur into one soft horizon as she begins. Her story isn't about tragedy anymore. It's about awareness, empathy, and digital truth. When she finishes, silence lingers. Then applause rises like a tide. Somewhere in the crowd, a young man wipes a tear. She realizes then that survival can become service, and pain can teach protection. After the talk, Lila and Hale sit outside the venue, sharing quiet coffee. "You turned a case into a calling," he says, smiling faintly. She laughs, shaking her head. "Maybe just a conversation starter." Hale watches her for a moment. That's how change starts. They sit in easy silence, city lights flickering beyond the glass. For the first time, Lila feels no trace of the woman who once waited for messages that never came. Instead, she feels rooted, real, grounded in a world that exists beyond the screen. That night, back in her apartment, Lila opens her diary for the first time in months. She writes simply, "I forgive myself." The words steady her hand. She scrolls through photos on her phone. Her shop, her friends, her rebuilt life, and presses delete on the last folder named Evan. The screen goes blank, but her heart feels full. Outside, rain begins to fall again, soft and rhythmic, washing the city clean. Lila watches it from her window, a quiet smile forming. The story that once began with deception now ends in truth, her own. Spring has turned the city soft again. Lila Moreno walks through the market on her way home, flowers in her arms, sunlight brushing her face. Strangers pass by, each carrying their own secret lives, and she no longer wonders what's real. She's learned that truth isn't something you find. It's something you choose to live by. Her phone vibrates in her pocket, an unknown number flashing across the screen. For a heartbeat, the past whispers. She silences it and keeps walking. The camera lingers on her smile, not triumphant, just calm, like a wound finally turning into skin. Later, in her shop, Sophie Trent visits with coffee and laughter. "You're glowing," she teases. "Finally getting enough sleep," Lila chuckles. Finally dreaming awake. They rearrange flowers while sunlight spills across the counter. Sophie nudges her phone toward Lila. An article titled "Digital Romance." Fraud. Survivor speaks for awareness. Lila's face graces the photo. She smiles, half embarrassed. Didn't think my heartbreak would make headlines. Sophie squeezes her shoulder. No, it made hope. That evening, Detective Rowan Hale stops by with news. The task force went global, he says, leaning against the doorframe. Because of your testimony, we've already prevented more cases. Lila feels gratitude bloom quietly where anger used to live. You did that, she says. He shakes his head. You told the story. They share a comfortable silence, two people who have seen how easily truth can disappear and still choose to protect it. Hale glances toward the roses. You ever think about trusting again? She smiles faintly. Every day. Just slower. Later that night, Lila writes a letter she'll never send. To the man I thought I loved, it begins. Thank you for teaching me what real love isn't. She folds it neatly and places it inside a box filled with old memories, screenshots, notes, the wedding invitation that never was. She closes the lid, tucks it into her closet, and exhales. Outside, thunder murmurs in the distance, but this time it sounds like comfort, not fear. She turns off the light, leaving the box, and the past in darkness. Morning arrives pale and quiet. Lila opens her shop early, placing a new sign on the window. Trust blooms where truth is planted. The first customer of the day is a man buying flowers for his mother. First time here, she asks. He nods, smiling shyly. It's beautiful. Lila wraps the bouquet, her voice steady. Take care of what's real, she says. Outside, sunlight spills across the street, petals dancing in the breeze. The camera drifts upward. City alive, screens glowing, stories continuing. Some honest, some not. But Lila's world, finally, is hers again.